The first thing we're going to build for our app is our sign in page. So whenever a user visits our app, they'll need to sign in and be authenticated with Google Sign in order to use the app. So first of all, we're going to display a splash screen, what I'm calling a splash screen, that's going to consist of our app title as well as a button that users can click to actually sign in. So first of all, make sure your app is running and you can see the text "Hello World." And we're going to start out of our main.dart file by replacing the text that we have set to home to be displayed on the home screen with the actual home page. So we can just execute the home widget, and in order to import it, the approach that I'm going to be using most of the time is to highlight it or put my cursor over it, the thing that we want to import, and select Quick Fix. This is available within VS Code, and then choose Import Library, and I want the home.dart file so you can see the entire path to it here. And once we click on that, we now have the import and our error line goes away. And now if we save main.dart, if we look at our simulator, we now see the text home instead of hello world. So we're going to head to our home.dart file, and that's within our pages directory. And the way that we're going to display either the authenticated screen for authenticated users versus the splash screen for unauthenticated users is with the help of state. So right now we're displaying our text from this home state class, and we're going to add a piece of state up at the top, which is going to be a Boolean called isAuth, and by default it's going to be set to false. So when isAuth is true, we're going to display the auth screen. When it's false, the unauth screen. And the way we're going to determine that, or make sure our build function returns the appropriate widget, is we're going to add a ternary here. We're going to say if isAuth is true, then we're going to build the auth screen. And this is going to be a function which returns a widget. So for now, let's create the build auth screen function, and it's just going to return a text widget that says authenticated, and we'll give it a return type of widget. Otherwise, if that's false, we're going to build the unauth screen, which when this function is run is going to return a scaffold. So we'll create this function as well. It's going to return a scaffold. So we'll give it a return type of a scaffold widget, and for its body we'll have a container that has as its child a column. You can put both elements, the text and the button, within a single column, where its children is going to be an array of widgets. The first thing we'll include is our title, so the text is going to be Flutter Share, and then for the style we can use the text style class, where we'll say that the font family is our custom font, which is called Signin, like so. The font size will be 90, and the color of it will be colors.white, or white. And then after our text widget, and by the way, I'm going to be including commas after each ending parenthesis to better format our widgets. So when you add a comma after a parenthesis, it formats it in a more readable manner. After text, after we see the closing tag here, we'll add a gesture detector, and this is to make our image that we're going to be using and displaying here function like a button. So the image that we're going to be using is the Google Sign In button PNG I've included in your images folder. So for our gesture detector child, we're going to have a container which contains our image, which will have a width of 260, a height of 60, and a decoration set to box decoration, where the image will be set to decoration image, and the image is going to be linked to an asset image, since we're reading from the assets folder, with the path assets/images/Google_signin_button.img. .png, like so. And after the image argument, we'll say that we want a fit of boxfit.cover to cover all the available space of the container. So let's save that, and if we take a look at our simulator, we should see that we have the unauth screen displayed since isAuth is false. If we take a look at it, we see that we have our button being displayed, but we don't see our text, and that's because our text is white and the background by default is white. So there's a few things that we can do here. First of all, we want to center things within the column, so we can set main axis alignment to main axis alignment dot center and cross axis alignment to cross axis alignment dot center to center it in both directions. And for our background, we can set that on the container. So we'll set decoration to box decoration, just like we did for our image. And I'm going to be using a gradient to make the background look a bit more colorful. So I'm going to be using a linear gradient. You could also use a radial gradient if you like. There's a few options that Flutter makes available to you for gradients. So we'll choose a linear gradient, and we want this gradient to begin in the top right hand corner, so we'll use alignment dot top right to select that, and it should end in the bottom left hand corner. So that'll be bottom left. And then for our colors, colors is an array. So we're going to begin with a certain color and end with another one. So the first color that I'm going to start with is teal, so we can use colors.teal for that. And for the ending color, that'll be colors.purple. And finally, to center everything within the container, even though we're centering everything in both directions in the column, we want to set alignment to alignment.center. So when we've done that, if we take a look at our simulator, we have our title with our custom font, our button, and to see that this works, we can add on gesture detector and on tap, and for now we can just print something to the console. We can print tapped, for example, to see that this works. So when we click on sign in with Google, we should see in our debug console tapped, so that's working. We have our title, gradient, and our sign in button. And in the next video, we're going to see how to actually provide some functionality to this to actually change isAuth from false to true, give users the ability to sign in using Google, so we can display to them our authenticated screen, which will eventually be our app.